Hello and welcome to That Gaming Show. Sorry for the delay in getting out to you tonight. We had a few little technical difficulties, but that's okay. We are That Gaming Show. I am, of course, Jackson Ryan. To my right is Milky Pixel, and to her right is Beau, Shay.
Hi.
We're all about video games here. We talk about the biggest video game news, really, this week. And first of all, we're going to start with Overwatch. You can see Junkertown playing right behind me. I like this story because it caused a little bit of a stir this week, guys.
Just a bit.
You know.
Sure did.
Now, we won't talk too much about Overwatch because I'm sure that if you're watching a gaming show, you're probably well aware of what Overwatch is. But this week, Blizzard announced that they were going to release a new map that would feature Australia.
Yay!
Yay.
That's where we're from. We're from Australia.
We're from Australia.
Are we?
And practically, Junkertown's been mentioned before.
I'm from Australia.
Yeah. That's a good point. Junkertown's been mentioned before, and in this case, they said, look, we're going to do Junkertown. They did a reveal trailer. I think it went for 3 minutes or so. Junkrat, Roadhog. You know these things, Milky, better than I do, of course. But there was a few issues. And the first issue was, I think, a little bit around the language that was used in the trailer.
And we're not talking about cussing.
No.
For once.
For once.
I'm not talking about cussing. So at one point during the trailer, Junkrat actually says they took our land, basically. Which, you know, for an Australian-based map, seems like it could be potentially inflammatory in some way. Of course, Australia is the nation of convicts. The white people that live here stole the land from the Indigenous Australians. That's a fact. It's not debatable.
The sugar-coated word is colonized.
Yeah, right. Terra nullius and all that nonsense. But anyway, the whole controversy sort of erupted around a couple of tweets people were saying, look, this language is probably not something that we want to use for revealing a map that's about Australia. So Beau first. I'll go to Beau first.
Oh.
Because he looks like he's ready to
Ready to go.
Ready to
Well,
go.
no, I'm just interested in your take, especially around the language, first of all, that was used, and sort of the context it was used in.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, Blizzard are pretty good with this stuff?
yeah, no, and we talked about it previously on the show, talking about Overwatch and our affinity for it, and how they do such a great job of being inclusive to races, sexualities, and all different walks of life. Do a really good job of it. I don't think there was definitely not anything malicious in this. It's just a phrase that they used without knowing the full context of it. But in saying that, I should also state, as a white Australian male who's benefited from centuries of white privilege, I don't think I'm in a position to be having a kind of robust opinion on this. But a mutual friend of ours who is an Indigenous journalist, Ray Johnson, did say today that, and I'll quote her tweet just so I'd make sure I say it correctly. If you're vocal and angry and spreading the word about a video game trailer using poorly chosen language that could potentially maybe be deemed offensive to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, I hope you also have some energy to speak out about the multitude of actual horrific injustices happening on a daily basis, including white people getting away with murdering Aboriginal children, the continued rise in rate of deaths in custody, our National Day being on the anniversary of the beginning of attempted genocide, and just the erasure of this nation's true history in general. So I think that puts it in a pretty good context, from someone, an Indigenous person. It's like, if you're going to get outraged about this
language, then.
About this really throwaway line in it, if it hadn't been highlighted to me again, like I know I come from a position of white privilege. Yeah. I might not have picked up on it, and that's says more about me than anything. So that's how I feel it should be surmised.
So Milky, then a question for you, which I'm a little bit interested in your take as well. Not just around the language, but in games in general, in games development. This is obviously a US-based developer, right?
Yeah.
So when they are building stuff around Australia or building games that are sort of set in Australia, do you think that they need to do more due diligence? Like, do you think that the developer should be really chasing up things like history? Like, if they made this in the US and somehow accidentally made an offhanded comment about slavery or something like that, this would be huge news, right?
Yes.
So, I'm just wondering, like, do you think there's a real onus on the developer to be like, hey, I've got to go out and get this information?
Well, I mean, they're not a dumb company.
No.
like, these aren't people who are below the IQ of 50. Collectively. No,
Tis not the unwashed masses we're talking about.
the unwashed masses. No, so I think there could have been a bit more research done. I mean, if you have Junkrat and Roadhog being very Aka Aussie, and you have all these little references and cultural little tidbits, then, just a bit more effort could have been put.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's not like this kind of thing hasn't happened before. I mean, with Symmetra's Desi skin, I think I'm saying it right, Desi skin, and the Native American / Egyptian heritage of, what's her name?
The one with the big things.
I've forgotten her name.
I don't do Overwatch.
Farah, yeah. So
you're the Overwatch queen. You're directing me.
So it's very much. It's like it's not like this hasn't happened on a certain scale before.
So it should be prepared for these things. Basically.
Yeah, I think it's like they're made of people. The company made of people. They're not perfect. So throughout life, we're always going to make mistakes.
You
we're
don't
not
just think
robots.
that in this particular case is an overreaction?
I mean, I guess.
I don't think you can call it an overreaction. Like, I think it's a valid point, but like, as Ray said, it's like put it in context. Like, be that upset about this line. Like, don't vilify the company. They are doing great. Other people have said they are doing great things. Well, we've said they're really inclusive. They're doing a good job in being inclusive. We shouldn't vilify them for this because it was something that they weren't aware of.
Yeah.
And with Farah, like with the whole, I guess, uproar as well with Farah and her heritage being Native American and Egyptian, because we're in Australia, I guess we didn't feel the Twitter uproar and whatnot in comparison to our neighbors in the States. Yeah. So we're feeling the Junkertown stuff now because we're in Australia. Yeah. But it could have been the same thing for those two instances.
And that issue obviously is, issues around racism is always going to be quite
touchy.
Yeah, quite a touchy subject, and obviously, like Beau suggested, it's better to leave that discussion to Indigenous Australians, people associated with Indigenous Australians, because we have more than enough privilege and have had our say more than enough over the years.
No one needs to hear from more white guys.
But the truth is, there was another controversy, and that was the fact that they used the word takeout in the trailer instead of the word take away. And obviously Australians don't use the word take out. I've never ever said, let's go get some takeout. So takeaway needs to go in. That was a real uproar. I mean, somewhat, like, strangely, that was what
somewhat overshadowed.
Yeah, somewhat overshadowed maybe a bigger issue.
That is something I am outraged about.
So you don't like the takeout?
No way. It's this whole thing where Americans don't want the real Australia in this map, and I mean, I know this is a game and it's it's designed to be a kind of fun, interactive environment. So okay, chill out, bro. Yeah, I get it. But just in general, when Americans look at Australian culture, they don't want real Australian culture. They want a parody of Australian culture.
They want the stereotypes.
The stereotypes. They want hats with corks on them and boomerangs and
Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. Your koala is your avatar, that's what they want. They don't want the real deal. I don't like
that at all. But Jeff did apologise. Jeff Kaplan, Vice President of Blizzard, obviously did apologise, and he basically went and said, "Look, we're going to patch this out. Yeah. We're going to actually patch this out, and in the next patch that's going." He also said that Muzelk, who is a big Overwatch streamer, complained about the size of coffees in the US, and that they're trying to be better for Australians. So thank you, Jeff.
Fine size of coffee, okay?
Look,
20 ounces.
I don't want to discuss coffee sizes or the US because we have to talk about something else, which means that now it's Project Scorpio. Yeah, that's right. We've got a few. I've got a few notes here. Project Scorpio. What are you laughing at? Project Scorpio is something that Milky, you're probably well familiar with, but obviously at E3, Xbox announced that they would be calling the new Xbox Project Scorpio, the Xbox One X.
Yes.
What do you think of that name, first of all? Do you like Xbox One X?
No.
Okay, good. And Milky?
I like it, but I do admit for non-native English speakers, it is. Well, I mean, even for English speakers, it's a bit of a tongue twister.
I agree. But
it's funny.
Xbox went and announced this week that they'll be doing a Project Scorpio edition. A lot of people like the name Project Scorpio, so as you can see the trailer playing behind us, Project Scorpio edition is just going to have, the words Project Scorpio. It's going to be, it's going to look like the Xbox One
Duke.
original sort of a colouring scheme.
So it's like a mini retro. It's like not going full way back. It's going like a mini.
Paying homage
That's
to our roots.
Homage,
Yes.
that's right. And we already know that Microsoft has obviously been touting the Xbox One X as the most powerful console of all time ever
To date,
existed.
yes.
And as you can see, it's got 4K, it's
6 teraflops.
6 teraflops. All those ridiculous things that people don't actually understand. I don't
Of course,
understand
when you say teraflops, it doesn't actually sound like a unit of measurement. It sounds more like a...
No, it's ridiculous.
Like when someone's making something up, it's like, oh, yes, well, of course, it was about 16 teraflops.
But it's amazing that what they did is they announced this, and then it's basically sold out straight away.
Yes.
You cannot get Project Scorpio console, you cannot pre-order one.
So someone who's a native Xbox lover, you've
bit.
said that you're very much a big fan of this and you're going to get one.
Yeah,
What is it about this edition that's so exciting?
Nostalgia, bragging rights, collectors, hype. I guess.
So you are saying it's nostalgia, and I know collector's rights, that makes a lot of sense to me, but is there a bit of nostalgia to this?
Yeah, I mean, the Duke was our chunky baby.
Yeah.
And it was our first Xbox.
I know that you're
Simpsons
thinking somehow
hit.
My first child was the Duke.
No, my first child was the Atari 2600, but that's neither here nor there.
That's okay. No, that's fine. So what I actually do want to know about the Project Scorpio is it going to be available then on November 7th? Can you walk in, get is this a day one thing or is it gone?
Oh, okay, so Project Scorpio, it's really, you know how companies say limited edition, but they'll make more. Okay. Project Scorpio is literally, they are only making a specific amount and that's it.
Right. So it's not like Nintendo when they brought out the Super Nintendo Classic that wasn't available anyway. It's just they didn't make enough. It wasn't meant to be like that. This is actually like, no, we're making a finite number of these things.
That's
get one if you can get one.
Yeah, so you're talking about the NES, not the Super
That's it.
NES.
Yeah,
Come
you know
on,
what I
man.
mean.
Come on, man.
I'm waiting for the smaller one.
I know you're waiting for the Super NES. Then let's just talk about Xbox One X in general. Do you think it's worth purchasing? As someone who would have an Xbox One S, do you think that the difference is justifiable?
I have the original Xbox One. I'm not talking about the Duke. I'm talking about the 1-2
the
models.
very first,
two models
very
before, Xbox One X.
So it's different for you in a way, isn't it?
So I held off on getting the Xbox One S, the one before this one, because I knew I already have the Xbox One, and everything afterwards is going to share the same ecosystem, so the discs are going to be compatible, etc. Right? I believe that Project Scorpio, the edition, or even the X, should only be for people who are going to utilize the 6 teraflops, who are going to utilize the 4K. It's like if you buy, I mean, for all intents and purposes, there are some people who buy Lamborghinis and just keep them in the garage for, for bragging rights and aesthetics, right? For their collection, for their gallery. And there are going to be some people out there who buy the Project Scorpio limited edition just to have it. I know one of our #1 fans of Xbox, he collects every single edition of an Xbox that ever exists, including all the different Halo 4s. It's insane. And it's just
Shout out to the collector.
to Dominic.
Dominic. You're going to need to build a vault soon, mate.
And it's going to be exactly the same for this. The reason why we have a premium Xbox One X is for people who are going to utilize that. For people who are not, there's still the Xbox One S.
Beau, then, will you be purchasing an Xbox One X?
I will not be.
Do you have an Xbox One X?
I do not have any Xboxes ever.
Okay.
So I
For
am
shame.
Firmly, yes, I know, Milky, this is
Shame,
what
Mel.
Yeah.
Shame.
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 Yeah.
Shame.
I'll do the walk of shame later. So Duke is not my chunky baby. I've always been a PlayStation guy. What you said? Oh.
Yeah, no.
I've always been a PlayStation guy, and I've just done the iterations. And it's really easy to track which PlayStation you're up to because there's a number at the end of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the naming system on the Xbox One X is ridiculous, and the fact that you can have an Xbox One S and an Xbox One X, to me, demonstrates how much Xbox lean towards hardcore gaming. Like, Xbox never going to come out and make stuff for kids, Like, it's never going to be like your mum.
They do.
I know Minecraft's massive.
Super Lucky Tail is coming out.
Yeah, and I know that they pump stuff like that, but there's no... If someone walks into a retail store, a mother or a father walks into a retail store, they will not understand why there's an S and an X on the end. They just will not get it. I promise you that.
Unless you have someone there to actually explain it to them, and that's what we're here for.
They need to go to Microsoft store to buy this, whereas...
you'd hopefully expect someone at EB Games to know... I'm going to swear here, to know their shit, know what they're talking about with all the consoles, as I did when I used to work at EB. You know about Nintendo and PlayStation as well, as well as Xbox and PC.
You should know about those things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you
know about the stuff that you're selling or where you work.
It doesn't necessarily mean the parents will get the information that they need to make a purchase. That's all I think. I think it's very easy for a parent to be like, I want something for my kid.
No, just get it for a Christmas present, or just get the latest thing or whatever they want. Okay,
yeah. I just think it's easy for like someone that works in a retail store to be like, this is the best thing for a kid. They're not going to point at the Xbox One X.
Well, there are some people out there like me who will not say to a parent or someone to get, like, for instance, the i7 16 gigabyte, like the top of the range, because it's unnecessary expenditure of your money.
Yeah.
You're not going to utilize all that power. You're not going to utilize all the storage or the RAM. So go to what's appropriate for you, and that's going to be the same for the Xbox One S and the X. Yeah. So depending on what your child or your home needs, if you do have if you have 4K media that you are going to absolutely love on your big screen, get the X. If not, if you're just going to be chilling playing Halo and Minecraft with your kid, then get the S. It's not that hard.
It's interesting that you say that it is something that
it's the premium product.
Yeah, that it is more targeted to gamers, and that people who are looking for a home entertainment system, and I use that kind of description loosely, wouldn't have a instant kind of affinity for this device, because when the next gen consoles came out after that long hiatus, the Xbox was positioned as more of a home entertainment console, something that was geared towards being more of a family device as opposed to hardcore gamers, and it pissed off all the hardcore gamers.
It did. Oh, that
right. So it's really interesting
that presentation.
That's what I was getting at. It's just the Xbox One X is clearly for a certain market. And to me, I just don't personally think, and I'm probably wrong, but I just personally don't think that targeting towards one demo in this day and age is the way to make Xbox are behind, right? Like, if we look at PlayStation, Xbox are behind. If there's some stupid console war that you want to talk about, Xbox are losing. So if you want to get back in front, I don't think the Xbox One X is the way to do that. I also didn't think the PS4 Pro was the way to do that, but that sells pretty well. So, you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting that they're starting to ramp up the releases as well, because a console makes its most money like the longer it goes. It's before the next generation comes out,
PS3, Xbox
because all the development's
360.
been done. Like you make your money at the tail end. So it's interesting that now they're just like starting to bang them out. It's like, well, maybe they've got too much money.
Well, technology advances like that as well. So
it does. We're already obsolete.
Yeah, we are. We're obsolete. This show's obsolete now, 20 minutes in, because some breaking news has happened. We can't even tell, even though we're live. I need a producer in my ear. Okay, but I think that's all we'll talk about for the Xbox, and
for the new
I think
baby.
now we'll talk about Rocket League. That's right.
What is Rocket League,
Rocket
Jackson?
League is an interesting one, actually. I love this game, and Rocket
Suck
League
at this game.
This weekend have the Universal Open. So Rocket League is a competitive sports game, basically, where instead it's a soccer game, and instead of people, you use cars. You can see it playing behind us. It's all about really fine control and understanding the physics of how the ball moves around the court. It's actually just one of the most impressive, I guess, spectacles when you can see how people juggle the ball, how people score goals. It's just a really impressive video game for competitive play. So yeah, they've got the Universal Open. That's this weekend, and it's an interesting one, the Universal Open, because the Universal Open is actually sponsored by CBS in the USA. So CBS have sort of like an agreement with these guys. They'll be broadcasting it on the weekend in the US. And CBS wanted to put this competition together around 2 versus 2, which is not traditionally Rocket League's forte. But you wanting to jump in here, mate?
It's NBC.
NBC, sorry, CBN. Are they the same?
CNN. It's all fake.
They're all the same ball. Bloody anagram, but no one's watching.
But yeah, so so it is a major TV network that's driving the competition, and there's $100,000 prize money, so quite a significant amount of cash on the table, and it's being broadcast live via Twitch this weekend, so you can see it Sunday morning. So I think it's really interesting because we've talked on here about the different esports leagues that are emerging, and I don't know enough about the background of the Universal Open to know kind of how long it's been running and that kind of thing.
Well, it's only very recent.
Very recent.
So NBC, not CBN, NBC basically said, like, they went to Psyonix, who are the developers of Rocket League, and said, like, look, we want to put something together. And Psyonix actually said to them, we want to do something around 2 versus 2. Yeah. Now, a lot of competitive leagues, like DreamHack, which is a big esports tournament, they do 3 versus 3. Yeah. And there's a whole different range of tactics.
Your regular Rocket League is 3 versus 3, isn't it?
Yeah, or you can do 1 to 3.
Yeah. Or 4v4.
I don't think you have 4, can you?
Yeah.
Man, that's an update that I haven't seen, Milky. Let me tell you.
You can play 4v4.
Anyway, 3 vs 3 was the sweet spot. Now it's 2v2 in the Universal Open. So that was a big sticking point originally for NBC and Psyonix. Psyonix said we just wanted 2 versus 2. So that's the cool thing about this comp. A lot of pros were like, I don't want to play 2 versus 2 because it changes the way the game plays.
Yeah.
You can't have someone that sweeps back in front of the goal. You can't have someone, you can't have a lot of juggle plays from one end to the other, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like it's been successful enough. It was only US and Canada and Europe, I believe, that had the chance to participate. But it is the finals this weekend. As you said, it's a huge prize pool. Yeah,
no, it's good to see. And, we've talked on here about esports and which one will crack it with the mainstream. And yes. I read a really good piece on IGN by Joe Gilroy where he talks about the Rocket League competition and how he believes that Rocket League will be the one to crack the mainstream because it's something that you can actually pick up and play. Even though I'm absolutely dreadful at it, it's not like soccer or football in that you do need a little more skill than if you're playing FIFA, for example. But it's also something that low barrier to entry, but a deceptively high threshold for mastery, which is how Joe put it. And I think that's a really good summation of it. It's something you could turn on, and it's how we've described the leagues on this show. The ones that will be successful are the ones where you can turn it on, you can see what's happening, you can work out what's going on, and if you wanted to, you could actually pick it up and play it and understand the game. And yeah, so I agree that I think it'll be great. It'll be interesting to see how it rolls out on Sunday morning. One other thing that I'm really interested in is looking at how this show will be broadcast on Sunday morning around the same time that the Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight is on, which is another sporting spectacle. And just looking at 2 sporting spectacles running at a similar time and just see how they compare in terms of viewership and it'll give you a real kind of idea of how those 2 things match up.
Well, yeah, I can tell you right now they won't compare whatsoever. Yeah. I think it's the fact that you just brought that up just reminded me that it is on this weekend. The Universal Open, no one's going to watch it. I'm sorry, NBC. I'm sorry. There'll be a few people on Twitch, maybe 20,000 something, but it's going to be dwarfed by what is one of the that's complete different level of.
No, I'm fully aware. This is the fight of the century.
Yeah.
But it is a sporting spectacle on at the same time as this. I just like it when you have as many comparable variables as you can. As a scientist, Jackson, I know you appreciate that.
No, I really like the fact that you want to see how it stacks up, I guess, again. Literally what will be probably the biggest viewership for a boxing match that's ever occurred.
Yeah.
So it will be quite interesting to see that. and I think that's a good thing to look at. Also, I'm interested about things like Rocket League's. I know Joe has mentioned how it's easier barrier to entry. It's a sports game basically, and it's very clear. Two sides, very clear. Ball has to go in a hole for it. So it's like a competitive sport that exists in the real world. So is he suggesting that that would be the way to go to get people involved, just because they already know?
Well, it's quite a detailed story, and so I don't want to kind of like paraphrase on his behalf. But it's just it's something that you can follow what's going on. Right? You can tune in. I mean, it's playing behind us. If you're not familiar with it, you can watch the trailers, you can watch the gameplay, and pretty much anyone, like you said, like the contest is easy to understand.
Yeah.
So I think that is a key point for penetration into the mainstream. And Joe talks about, the hardcore esports like Dota and League of Legends will always be there because they've got their audiences and they've got, very, very sophisticated leagues and things set up to continue that, which is great. But if you want to penetrate into the mainstream, it needs to be something that someone, that my mum, if you're watching, hi mum, could tune in and watch it and she could know what's going on.
Well, Milky, then if it's like a real sport and you can tune in, why wouldn't something like FIFA or Madden be a game that becomes the entry for people to watch esports?
Because people already watch American football and European football.
So you think
football,
that because people watch them in real life, that they would have no interest to watch the best players play them digitally?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because you're playing as Messi and Ronaldo digitally, or like in game, but you can watch those guys and their actual talents.
Yeah.
So I actually watched the Madden Championship because I am an avid American football fan, and this Sunday morning I'm actually having my fantasy football draft. So I won't be able to tune into the Overwatch to the Rocket League
Universal
tournament.
Open. Yep.
So I actually tune into the Madden Ultimate Team competition, and what you can do in that is you can actually construct your ultimate fantasy team of players. So I can have Tom Brady throwing it to Julio Jones, and with playing up against Richard Sherman and the best picking your ultimate pro team regardless of where they come from, because you can compile that ultimate team yourself. So there's I would still much rather watch a game of NFL. I'd still much rather watch the Patriots destroy the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl again. But
there's an element of what if this happened.
Right.
But you're also so you're already a traditional sports fan. So what about people that don't traditionally follow a team? Like, why couldn't they watch FIFA and be like, wow, these players are really skilled at this video game, which I play. Like, people play FIFA without actually liking soccer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So I just...
Yeah, I'm not a fan of soccer, but I definitely play FIFA.
Yeah, and it's just like FIFA is this real competitive, very, I don't know, like bro-style game. Like you always hear about, the boys go and play FIFA.
The demographic that comes into the store to play FIFA.
Yeah.
Very broski.
That's
very
what I mean.
broski.
So, but, and women obviously play FIFA as well, and probably much better than I can. But that whole idea to me seems silly, that if you can take something that is soccer with cars and not soccer with real people, and like the skill levels I would say are comparable. Rocket League has a little bit more finesse and it looks a little bit more finessed, but
I mean, like, could you imagine, you could attempt to do this in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, like cars with a massive soccer ball.
All right, Channel 10, sign us up. We're going to...
I mean, like...
Maybe that's the next thing. I think that's where
maybe.
Well, Rocket League do a really good job of introducing classic cars. Like when they had the DeLorean in there, and they've got classic cars from film as another popular culture that they put in there.
Yeah. And it's coming to the Switch, of course, as well. So they'll be adding a lot of Mario, Luigi, Samus cars to the Switch version. Rocket League on the Switch, actually, I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah.
But that is all we have time for this week. Sorry that we were a little bit late today, guys, but we still had a good time.
We did.
What are you playing this weekend, Beau?
I'm playing a really obscure game, it's called it's the sequel to a game I played many years ago called Planescape Torment.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
very successful game, very
it was
deep.
Yeah.
RPG.
Yeah, so the sequel, Tides of Numenera.
Yeah.
Numenera?
Another guy called Red Artifice on Twitter who would love to hear that.
Yeah.
Milky, yourself?
I am playing an IRL game called Running Errands and doing things in preparation for my fortnight, that's 2 weeks for everyone in the States, of being a part of the Twitch grassroots program. So from the 28th of August to the 10th of
I am
September.
playing nothing actually this week, and I finished Uncharted Lost Legacy a couple of days ago, and it's well worth checking out. But I've got lots of things on, like the Adelaide Crows Football Club final game of the season. If you follow the Crows, tweet me at Dr. Jack, and I'll speak to you on Twitter soon. Thanks for watching that gaming show this week, guys. Sorry we were late, but we'll be back next week, 8 o'clock, Facebook Live.
See you then.